What's going on? Prophet here. So I was asked to do a video regarding what makes a great ass. I thought it was a pretty weird request, but I'm always up to talk about all these things. And so what I decided is that if I'm going to do this video, I'm going to do it on my own terms. And that means that I'm going to present this video from a scholarly perspective and not be shallow or coy about it, but rather I'm going to do this video as if I was a professor lecturing to a classroom full of young minds who are interested in knowing. And so with that being said, I present to you the anatomy of ass paradigm, a critical look at the worship of booty from a theoretical and an anatomically driven perspective. In analyzing the makeup of a great booty from an anatomical and theoretical perspective, it's important to identify the elements that give credence to what many pundits consider to be a great ass. In this lecture, I'll attempt to dissect the varying elements that form the great ass continuum, while also taking a deep dive into the theory of booty and how it is enjoyed visually from so-called ass experts. In any lecture on booty must be careful to not be too shallow and surface level. The booty is a sacred item of worship that demands and deserves the proper amount of attention paid to it, and its depths and dynamic must be adequately explored. Therefore, this lecture and any subsequent lectures and ideologies on the subject must rise to the level of scholarly, and anything less is a disservice to such a marvelous part of anatomy. I would say that from an anatomical perspective, a glorious booty encompasses three distinct parts. And together, these three elements combine to form the legendary booties that the world now worships and celebrates. These three parts are known effectively as the swoop, the D, and the cuff. Each one is a dynamic force that plays a crucial role in presenting this visual gasm that we've come to love and adore. For instance, the swoop is the curvature that connects the lower back to the upper booty. It is the slightly curved area that sets conditions for the ass. It is known as the swoop because it is a curving motion which follows the natural curvature of the spine down to the tailbone, where the ass just starts to protrude out. The swoop is important because it acts as a ramp or a launching pad and sets up the rest of the booty to fall in line with it and to form this amazing creation. The second element of a great ass is what is known as the D. The reason it's called a D is because it resembles the letter D. The D encompasses the entire surface area that protrudes out from the body, set up by the curve of the swoop and connecting underneath. The D is what many revere most about a great ass. It's the element that is most visually recognized. It's celebrated for its roundness, its thickness, its buoyancy, and its weight. This element is comprised of two distinct cheeks which form one large circular object of affection. It's often measured in width, circumference, and how far away from the lower back it actually protrudes out. And the D is the most recognized element of a great ass, and therefore is often most manipulated. Whether through surgery, gym, or natural selection, the D sees the most drastic change and growth over the course of development. And the final element in a great ass is known as the cuff. This is the distinct area where the lower part of the D meets the thigh. It is recognized by a horizontal line forming at the inner thigh and traversing along an azimuth towards the outer thigh, thereby creating a line indicating a meeting point. It is the result of a large posterior D colliding with appropriately portioned thighs, and the cuff is like a smile looking back at those who are enjoying the view. So what we have is a collection of elements that form together to create this magical thing. They each have their respective position in this arena, and the results are the beauty we've come to collectively raise in such high praise. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out an abstract that is often regarded as gospel. Many want to point to the hips as being essential element of a great booty, and I personally vehemently reject that notion. The width of one's hips do not make it an ass. It is very possible to have wide hips and no booty. So without the three essential elements mentioned above, you can still have wide hips and be void of any ass. From a theoretical perspective, a large posterior complete with these three elements are seductive in nature, aesthetically pleasing to the visual, and finally impressive upon the mental. They help to shape the cognitive develop as one transmogrifies from adolescent to adulthood. It sets conditions for future beliefs, moral structure, and even such tangibles as one's own work ethic. In dissecting the varying elements that form the great ass continuum, while also taking a deep dive into the theory of booty, it becomes apparent that a glorious backside is a cacophony of harmonious praises sung by the devout worshippers. There are many varying types of asses, and they all have their place on the pendulum of booty, yet there has, and will always be a special reservation into the inner sanctum reserved for the most glorious asses. This has been Prophet with an in-depth look into the anatomy of the ass paradigm. I appreciate you checking in. When you get a moment, if you're a young lady, take a look at your own ass and see where you fall within this paradigm. It's been real. Peace.